solely to French, we'll be using languages for communication. Okay, so Dr. Terry, the PRO of the association, will take it up from here.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Monsieur le Président, my president. Good evening, eminent professors and scholars in the house and colleagues. We welcome you to this webinar. And like our able secretary said, we'll be having two eminent scholars who will be speaking to us on different topics today. The first one is a professor of philosophy. I hope I'm not mistaken. And I would call on Dr. Gracious Ojebu to introduce the speaker to us, and then to give us a citation of the professor who will be speaking to us shortly. Dr. Gracious Ojebu, ma.
Thank you. I want to be sure that Professor. Hello, is Professor Folayo here already?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So very quickly, without wasting time, I'm going to take Professor Folayo's citation so we can bring him on board for the webinar of tonight. Professor Adeshina Folayo is a philosopher at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. He specializes in African philosophy, political philosophy, and cultural studies. His work critically engages with post-colonial knowledge production, particularly through the lenses of popular culture and indigenous epistemology. He is the author of Philosophy and National Development in Nigeria 2018 and co-author of the Palm Grove Handbook of African Philosophy 2017 and Pathways to Alternative Epistemologies in Africa 2021. His recent research explores Afropop and postcolonial aesthetics, supported by fellowship at the National Humanities Center. Professor Folayo has over 330 citations. His contributions include articles on everything from Fela Kuti to the EndSARS protest, establishing him as a leading voice in contemporary African thought. I present to you Professor Adeshina Folayo. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I'm so very happy to be part of this brilliant, beautiful initiative. I want to really thank every one of you. I mean, this is a period where after your strenuous day at work or, going out, you ought to have been back to rest and recuperate. But we are here on behalf of the association. We are here on behalf of one another to make our vocation not only more noble, but to also make it more relevant in the contemporary time. So I want to use this opportunity to thank the executive of the University-French Teachers Association of Nigeria, not only for inviting me as part of the cohorts of those who are going to be speaking to us, but also for this wonderful initiative. I mean, I think this is about the first time that I will see an association, involved in a move to make itself and its member better, to make them more, give them cutting edge skills and competencies. So I want to thank everybody for being part of this. What I'm going to be, I'm going to share my slide now. I've been told that I have 45 minutes, and I'm not going to waste your time. What I'm going to be talking to us about today is something that we are aware of. It is something that we all know. I'm not going to assume that there is somebody who is a member of this association who does not know what we are going to be speaking about today. So I am going to spend a lot of time on talking about what it means for us to be humanities scholars. What is expected of us as humanities scholars in today's world, and how we can do this in a way that will make us, very, very worthy of, our calling. And I'm hoping that we're going to take one or two things away from this meeting. In terms of what I will be talking about, or what my other colleagues will be talking about, I want to say that we are simply just reminding one another of what we have signed up for as scholars in the humanities. You are working from, the Department of French. I'm working from the Department of Philosophy. We have colleagues in religious studies. We have colleagues from music, from English, from communication. What brings all of us together? How are we supposed to remain relevant in this time and in this age? And so those are the things that I'm going to be speaking to every one of us about. And I'm hoping that at the end of this, as an association, we'll have something to take back, number one, as individuals, and number two, as a body, to be able to move this association forward, to be able to move our own profession, our own calling, to be able to move it forward. I've taken a bit of a liberty with the topic that I was given, and I'm hoping that it will still capture, the sense of what the organizer wants me to say. So this is my agenda. I'm going to be looking at, broadly speaking, what are the humanities? What is expected of, in terms of methodology, what is expected of the humanity scholar and the scholarship that defines the humanities. And then I'm going to be setting forward somebody that I hope that all of us are familiar with, as scholars in the humanities. I hope that we are familiar with the name of Abiola Irele, who is now late. So I'm going to be talking about Abiola Irele. And then I'm going to move from there to, some of the basics. I am hoping that my emphasis will be on the first three items on my agenda. And then I'll be able to say some general broad thing about abstract and their content, as well as, the journals that we're going to be sending our abstract and essays to, and what they will be expecting of us. My trajectory is that if I am able to lay the foundation of the first three items, then the last two items become straightforward. That is the part that I want to take. That is the methodological part that I want to take. And by the time we have a deeper sense than we have now of what our discipline, what our collective discipline, the humanities, demand of us, what the scholarship demands of us, what interdisciplinarity means, the imperative of being transdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. Then writing grant-winning writing abstract, that gets published in the best journals around becomes a straightforward issue. Now, these two quotes captures for me the essence of who we are, what we do, what we teach our students, what we embody as scholars. The humanities guide individual in understanding and embodying what it means to be human. That sums it up. So whether you are operating from the Department of French, or you are operating from the Department of English, or you are from theater arts, or you are from performance studies or philosophy, what we are all doing is that we want to understand the ramification of what it means to be human. What does it mean? How, number one, do we embody humanity in itself? And how do we understand the complexity of the human in a complex universe? That is what the humanities do. Any of the humanities discipline is concerned with the human. The fundamental ramification of these codes is still something that many scholars in the humanities do not understand. And I'm going to tell us very soon in this slide how we are almost always defending the humanities. Almost always defending the humanities. Of course, within the context of the neoliberal capitalism, there are so many humanities disciplines that have closed down. Philosophy, history, classics. Classics, for instance, is struggling all over the world. In Nigeria, it is only the University of Ibadan that has classic course. So this I understand why this puts us on the edge. It puts us under siege, that every time we are defending our cause, we are defending our discipline. But once we understand what the humanities do, that it is left to us, we carry the imperative of understanding what it means to be human. Then we get a clear understanding of how significant our disciplines are. And then Mahatma Gandhi says, the greatness of humanity is not in being only human, but in being humane. So we are not only trying to understand what the human mean, we are also trying to move from that into the study of how we can make humanity more progressively humane. How do we make the trunk of humanity that over 8 billion humans in the world today, how do we continue to study? How do we search for understanding of how we can increasingly become humane, increasingly become empathetic, increasingly become compassionate, increasingly love one another, increasingly remove tribalism, racism, ethnicity, sexism? How do we increasingly remove all this? This is what unites every one of us, from French studies to philosophical studies to cultural studies. But the challenge for me is that we are logged in disciplinary worldview. We are logged in disciplinary systems. This is the content of the book by C.P. Snow. I recommend this book for every one of us. It is the content of this book, and C.P. Snow was concerned with, in the 18th, 19th century, how scholars of humanities and scholars of science are diametrical. They see their disciplines as diametrically opposed. So somebody who is a scientist will boast that he has never heard of Shakespeare or has never read Things Fall Apart. And somebody who is in the humanity will boast that he does not know the law of thermodynamics, has never heard of Albert Einstein, does not know, Newtonian mechanics. So we are operating two cultures that are separate. Whereas both science and the humanities are concerned with the human. So it is this disciplinary logic, that C.P. Snow was worried about. This is what he considered to be the two cultures, the humanities culture and the scientific culture, and the refusal of the two to collaborate. So within the confines of our disciplinary framework, we produce, yes, I grant it, we produce significant works, but these works run parallel to one another. We do not converse. We do not collaborate. We do not synthesize. So those in French studies are doing their work, significant work, yes. Those in philosophy are doing significant works. We are fragmenting, the knowledge about what it means to be human. We are fragmenting the knowledge about what it means to understand the human world. So it is this disciplinary logic that we have to combat, number one. In fact, part of my thesis in this presentation is that it is collapsing this disciplinary logic is what gives you the edge in publishing. It is what makes your abstract unique. So you are not just writing from the perspective of French studies, you are now writing from the perspective of interdisciplinarity. Now, I have brought this framework so that we understand the world that we are in. What I need you to do, looking at this, is situate the question within this global polycrisis. What does it mean to be human? When the pandemic hit in 2020, what does it mean to be human? Within ongoing geopolitical conflict and instability, in Iran, for instance, now, what does it mean to be human? Within climate and environmental breakdown, there is so much heat. I was sweating. I went out today, I was sweating profusely. What does it mean to be human? Within the context of poverty, encroaching poverty, subsistent level poverty. What does it mean to be human? Within the context of insecurity in Nigeria, recently in the Delta axis, about 3 or so days ago, a policeman shot a citizen, shot him. What does it mean to be human within the context of insecurity? Polycrisis says our trouble, our predicament in the world are interconnected. I edited a book with a colleague from the university, Professor Francis Ebohari, and it is about the global pandemic, and the central thesis of that edited book is, what does it mean to be human? So when the coronavirus hit the World Health Organization and other organizations responded with a scientific framework, scientific mindset, and then they neglected the humanities. And yet, there is no way you can propose any scientific solution without looking at what the humanities think about what it means to be human. So this schema, this framework, gives us a sense of what makes the humanity relevant in today's world. So as a French scholar, a scholar of French studies, a scholar of French civilization, a scholar of the Francophone African world, post-colonial world, you are looking at this and you are asking yourself, what is humanity within this context? How do I begin to think of what is human? How do I begin to think of humanity, for instance, within Francophone African literature, Francophone African culture? What does it mean to be human? So within this, we do not need to be running around and then be trying to defend the humanities. No, the humanities are relevant. We are relevant. We do not even need to be defending it. So number 2 point is that the concept of the global polycrisis automatically tells us that our disciplinary logic is limited. So if you send a paper to me and you are looking at the health pandemic risk, or you are looking at geopolitical and conflict instability, and I do not see that you have a sense of how geopolitics is connected with climate and environmental breakdown, or is connected with economic and financial fragility, or is connected with social and political polarization, I will likely not accept your paper. So you begin to see how the global polycrisis imposes an imperative of interdisciplinarity, of transdisciplinarity, meaning that a scholar of humanity must be talking with health experts, scholars in health studies, must be talking with scholars in the social sciences, must be talking with the economists, must be talking with climate and environmental scholars to get a sense of what it means to be human within this global polycrisis. So, once we understand what that interdisciplinarity means, then we can begin to unravel it. The number one thing you need to know is that transdisciplinarity, cross-disciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, or interdisciplinarity does not undermine your disciplinary strengths. That one is certain. In fact, there is no way you can be interdisciplinary if you do not have a disciplinary focus. So any scholar of French studies that is stepping into the interdisciplinary framework, you must come from French studies. I will come from philosophy. A religious studies scholar will come from religious studies. So you must be grounded, number one, you must be grounded in your discipline. It is your discipline that serves as the framework, as the gateway, as the methodological springboard for you to launch into a conversation, an interdisciplinary conversation with others. Having said that, your disciplinary method must be flexible. Actually, in the humanities, there is a cross-cutting theoretical, methodological, and conceptual framework. In philosophy, I engage with Pauline Utonji, who is from Benin or Benin Republic. I engage with Valentin Modimbe. I engage with French scholars. I engage with Abiola Irele. You know, the issues that they discuss about African philosophy in Francophone Africa has, relevance for how we discuss philosophy in Anglophone Africa. The text, the novels that we use, that we talk about, they are relevant. I can take the theme of Ousmane Sembene. I can take the novels of some of these, French novelists, and tease out philosophical implications from them. So we share subject matters, we share thematic approaches, we share theoretical framework. All of us in the humanities, we talk about feminism. We use post-structuralism. We talk about Derrida and deconstruction. We talk about hermeneutics. We use critical theory. We are all involved in cultural studies. Oh, of course, all of us are post-colonial theorists. Because the context from which we are coming, demands that we must be post-colonial theorists. And all of us share this, whether you are in Arabic studies or Islamic studies, or you are in religious studies, you are in music, you talk about, you can take Fela. In fact, somebody, I engaged in a conversation with somebody online, and was talking about how Ashake, experiments with French. Somebody in French studies can decide to study Ashake in Afrobeat and how he deploys French, the French words, French phrases, French sentences, French idioms in his music. So we share all this. So this makes for a methodological flexibility. We are flexible. So it simply means that from all these shared perspectives, shared approaches, we are already interdisciplinary. So if you send me an abstract in my journal, I am the For now, I am the editor of the Ibadan Journal of Humanistic Studies, and these are the kind of things that I'm always looking at for. If you send me an abstract, talking about how Ashake deployed the French words or French language, and tell me that people have looked at Ashake from this perspective, but no one has done a critical, or no one has interrogated the place of French in his music, I will take your abstract. The last point about interdisciplinary that I want to talk to you about is that it gives us a coherent framework for different, that enable us to integrate different disciplinary insight and perspective. It arms us with new methodological frame that yields new understanding of the world. Now, let me go back. Look at this frame again. How do you think that methodological approaches that were developed in the 19th century will be adequate to understand the current contemporary polycrisis? It's not possible. So this current crisis that we find ourselves, Africa's post-colonial predicament, keeps challenging our theory. And that tells us that you cannot continue to be disciplinary in the face of changing circumstances, changing situation. The word we have contemporary to understand how all these are interconnected is the polycrisis. So we begin to see that there is no way you are a scholar and you are not challenged to be instantly interdisciplinary. The reason why I brought Abiola Irele into this conversation is that, number one, it is relevant for all of you in French studies. All of you who are teachers of French language in Nigerian universities. The number two reason is that he is the very embodiment of interdisciplinarity, which is why I want to hypothesize, which is why he is known all over the world today. Abiola Irele is one scholar that traverses, he got a PhD in French, but from that, disciplinary perspective, he launched into, you need to read his introduction to Pauline Utonji's African Philosophy, Myth and Reality. It was a magisterial introduction. He is in literature, he is in African and Francophone African literature, African American literature, Caribbean literature. I've just outlined, all these, his professional trajectory, so that we get a sense. If you read the negritude movement, there is no way you talk about negritude in Africa without mentioning Abiola Irele. He did a lot to articulate what that negritude means outside of those like Wole Soyinka and the rest of them who try to put down, the significance of negritude for the understanding of Africa in contemporary time. So I'm bringing him to you as an example of what all of us should be aiming for. Not just a scholar of Africa, but a scholar of global repute. There is nowhere you are talking of critical theory, there is nowhere you are talking of post-colonial studies that the name of Abiola Irele will not be mentioned. And it's not foreign, it is our own. So I have deliberately brought him because he had a PhD in French, like every one of you. And I'm saying what he did, the global renown that he had, the reputation he got it by simply just pure hard work. The same thing that many of us are doing currently. Now, let me move. So having laid that foundation, I said initially that once we get to that point, every other thing about journal and all that becomes a byproduct of how significant we have become. It becomes a byproduct of how ingrained in our field, how interdisciplinary we have become. So, the number one thing that I want to talk to us about is predatory journal. I don't know whether I need to gainsay this one. There are so many predatory journals in the world. Now, I can jump to the last point under plagiarism and AI. The last question that I asked there, what type of scholar would you rather be? I should have put that in a slide all by itself after finishing with Abiola Erele. That question should begin to ring in all our minds. What type of scholar would I want to be? Do I want to be a scholar who publishes in predatory journals? And then you get as many as possible, and then you are pronounced a professor, and that is the end of it? What kind of professor will you want to be? There is no way a predatory journal will make you a world-renowned professor of French studies. So the starting point is, what kind of journal do you publish in? I have never paid to publish in any journal. And the simple reason is that there are so many journals in the world that will not ask you for money. I dare say that any journal that asks you for money will likely not be thorough with the peer review of your essay. Now, that statement should be, of course, within our context, we know that so many journals need contribution, to sustain themselves. When I wanted to become the editor of the Ibadan Journal of Humanities Study, I told the faculty that I will not charge anybody any money. And that if I am compelled to charge, then I would rather just hands off. And the faculty agreed with me. Because I needed to begin to build reputation that the journal that we have in that faculty has integrity. A predatory journal will publish anything. Once they ask you for money, they just return your essay the way you have turned it out to them. So we need to put that. Once you put that question, what type of scholar do I want to be? Then you need to put that predatory journal. Any journal that has institutional base should be a good journal. Any journal that is, that is founded within a university system, any journal that is affiliated with a reputable association. So any journal, for instance, that the University Teachers of French Association or French Teachers of University French Teacher Association of Nigeria, any journal that you float will carry the reputation of that association. And therefore, it cannot just be a journal that is just anyhow journal. It cannot be a journal that will be. So that is why we say any journal that is associated or affiliated with an association or with a university is a strong journal, will not be a predatory journal. Number two, journals, and this is the secondary point that I needed to make, that from what I will be saying, from what my Oga, Professor Ileri, will be saying, from what the third speaker will be saying, you need to know that journals, grant bodies, conferences, will determine the nature and the technicality of the abstract you will submit. And that means that there will not be any one unitary framework that will answer to abstract writing. You cannot have it. But I will tell you in the next slide, I will tell you some of the basic things. And I am building up from what I have been saying about what it means to be an interdisciplinary, solid scholar who is not only studying French, the French language, but who is also interested in French culture, French philosophy, French pop culture, the French language in a plural society like Nigeria. So I'm saying that given the different editorial policies of journals, given the different editorial policies of granting bodies, there cannot be one skill set that determines how abstracts are to be written. The third point that I want to make is that plagiarism, I don't need to say that this can be overestimated or underestimated. I will assume that there's no one here who doesn't understand the danger of plagiarizing. You can get away with it. You can keep getting away with it. The day that somebody detects something, that one has plagiarized, the entire architecture of your scholarship and of your reputation collapses. The same goes for AI. Yes, the ethics of AI is still unfolding, and it is still very complex. Yesterday, I was on Facebook, and one of my senior colleagues, my friend in South Africa, was talking about a journal sending him a paper, and then he was reading that paper, he was assessing that paper, and then he saw references that were fishy. And then he immediately suspected that it was AI, and then he sent the paper back. And then I think the owner of that paper, walked through it, sent it to another paper, and then another person flagged that same paper. So we have also gotten, everything boils down to that question: what type of scholar would you rather be? What type of French teacher will you rather be? And then let me move on. So I have deliberately went online to search for this journal so that I give us a sense of what serious, significant journals are doing today. How the contemporary world, our contemporary scholarly reality, is changing the aim and scope of very serious journals. So this is the contemporary French and Francophone studies. And its aim and scope says it publishes the latest and best production of those involved in the field of 20th and 21st century French and Francophone studies, whether academics, novelists, poets, artists, filmmakers, photographers, and philosophers, to name only a few. That tells us immediately that that journal is not just academic, it is broad. It brings artists, filmmakers, poets, novelists, academic, photographers, it brings them all into conversation. In the process, the journal aims to reflect the increasingly interdisciplinary direction taken by the field and by the humanities in general. To take us back to that polycrisis, that view of our world imposes the imperative of interdisciplinary on all humanities scholars. So if you want to submit to this kind of journal, and you are simply just coming from your French studies, your disciplinary logic, your disciplinary worldview, you can be sure that your abstract will not be accepted. It does not matter that you can pin down the technicalities of abstract writing. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you are sufficiently vast. You are sufficiently broad-minded. Your disciplinary framework has led you to expand your scope. And then, so I tell my students, I tell my colleagues, younger colleagues, and I tell them publishing in foreign journal is not any big deal. What is big deal is how vast you have become, how widespread your interest has become. So somebody in French studies, for instance, any one of you, can take up the work of René Descartes, and they take up the work of any French philosopher. Michel Foucault can take up the work of any of these, French, or any of our French. Somebody can make Abiola Irele your area of specialization. Somebody can take the work of Pauline Utonji as your area of specialization. Now, so a few things about abstracts. Number one, let me start from the end. You are supposed to write your abstract after you have written your essay. And the simple reason is that if you write it at the beginning, you do not even have a sense of what your thesis is. You do not have a sense of the arguments you are going to deploy for that thesis. So you cannot start by writing your abstract. You write your abstract after you have written your essay and you have a sense of, yes, this is what I want to write, and then you write the abstract. The abstract captures or compresses your knowledge of the field. That's what it does. It provides a capsuled sense of how knowledgeable you are in that field and your mastery of its discourses. That is what it does. So in about 100, 200, 250, 300 words, you are expected to tell us the gap. Now, I need to break that gap into, in the University of Ibadan, when I was the PG sub-dean postgraduate, we were always trying to work and rework. We keep asking the question, must a work always look for a gap? No. Your work or your abstract or your essay can reinforce an existing position. Your work can complement an existing position. But most of the time, we are looking for the gap. The gap in literature is what others have done, but something that they have left undone. I was mentioning the other time, somebody can be saying the works that have been done in Afrobeat, especially around Ashake's music, or the works that have been done in Afrobeat generally, have looked at how Afrobeat artists looked at sexuality. They've looked at how Afrobeat, contribute to the progress or the decline in society or values in society. But many of these scholars have not looked at the significance of the French language in Afrobeat. That would be a gap in the literature. Because sincerely, I don't think I've seen, I am an Afrobeat scholar. I don't think I've seen any work that looked at how Afrobeat artists, make use of French idioms, make use of French words, French phrases in their songs. So that could be your entry point. That is a gap. A gap has to do with what scholars in that field have done and what they have left undone. A gap could be you trying to reinforce what some other scholars have done. A gap could be you trying to, accentuate, give more robustness to what others have done. But it must be as provocative as possible. And I said, an abstract is pretty useless if it does not advance a provocative thesis set within a discursive interdisciplinary space. As a teacher of French language, you must be engaging with philosophy, you must be engaging with music, you must be engaging with religious studies. Somebody can talk about religious formation in Francophone Africa. You can talk about how Francophone Africans, engage with Ifa, engage with traditional African religion. This is how you stretch your disciplinary methodology. This is how you stretch your disciplinary framework. So this is so. What I've been saying from the beginning is that once you open up your mind, once you open up your field, and one way to do that is for all of us to become cultural theorists, scholars of cultural studies. Because cultural studies gives us a framework within which cultural studies is by itself interdisciplinary. Post-colonial theory is by itself interdisciplinary. So I am pushing it today as a challenge to every one of us in this association that you must become a post-colonial theorist. You must become a cultural theorist. Your work, your scholarship must begin to engage with Edward Said, must begin to engage with Achille Mbembe, must begin to engage with Valentin Mudimbe, must begin to engage with Gayatri Spivak, must begin to engage with Omi Baba. When we engage with this, it broadens our understanding, it broadens our theoretical framework of how we understand Africa's post-colonial crisis. Once we do that, there is no way you will write an abstract and that abstract will not be outstanding. I think this is going to be my final. I picked this online and it gives us a sense of what an abstract is, especially in the humanities. Look at the starting point. From the mid-1970s through the mid-1980s, a network of young urban migrant men created an underground pulp fiction publishing industry in the city of Dar es Salaam. That in itself gives us a sense that this person knows what he's doing. This person has introduced us to urbanity, to migration, to literature, and to, an ethnographic study of Dar es Salaam, just in one sentence. And then every other thing in that, in that abstract follows. As texts that were produced in the underground economy of a city whose trajectory was increasingly charted outside of formalized planning and investment, that's urbanization, this novella reveals more than their narrative content alone. You see, this person is not just dealing with textual analysis, he is connecting text to reality, to urban reality. These texts were active components in the urban social worlds of the young men who produced them. They reveal a mode of urbanism otherwise obscure by narrative of decolonization. Now, you see his gap. He's contrasting the novels and how the novels have been criticized and interrogated before within the context of decolonization. He's contrasting them to what the author intends to do. So these modes of urbanism otherwise obscure by narrative of decolonization, in which urban belonging was constituted less by national citizenship than by construction of social network, economic connection, and the crafting of reputation. This article argues that pulp fiction novellas of socialist-era Dar es Salaam are artifacts of emergent forms of male sociability and mobility. Imprinting fictional stories about urban life on pilfer paper and ink, and in distributing their text through informal channels, these writers not only describe urban communities, reputation, and network, but also actually created them. This is a beautiful abstract. If you send this abstract to the journal, Contemporary French and Francophone Studies, there is no way they will not accept your abstract. So to reiterate my point, for all of us here, our major objective is a reflexivity, is an attempt to rethink our scholarship. It is an attempt to rethink our mindsets as scholars in the humanities. You are a humanities scholar first, and then you are a French scholar, and then you are an interdisciplinary scholar. Being a humanities scholar already makes you interdisciplinarity, which is why I'm saying all of us must pick up the challenge of being post-colonial theorists. We must pick up the challenge of being African cultural theorists. Don't just stay within the ambit of French studies, but move out, collaborate. And when we do that, when we become sufficiently interdisciplinary, writing, the competencies of writing abstracts follows. This is what this particular abstract has revealed to us. This person has a knowledge of the neoliberal capitalism. He has the knowledge of urbanism. He has the knowledge of decolonization, of social and political philosophy, citizenship, of post-colonial African economy, and of African literature. So once we get to that, I made that point earlier that there is no one skill set for writing abstracts, because different journal will ask you for different abstracts. Different granting body will ask you for different abstracts. What will serve you? What I want, if you are writing a grant proposal for me, what I want to see is how vast your knowledge, how interdisciplinary, how we can situate your writing within this broad problematic of the world. If I have a grant proposal that connects, that shows a knowledge of this crisis, that is a grant-winning abstract. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much,
everybody.
Professor Folayo. Thank you very much. That was indeed a beautiful one. Thank you so, so much. So I'll leave you now in the hands of participants for questions and answers. We still have about 9 minutes to do that, but I want to say that uh, questions can keep dropping. Even after the presentations, we can have the questions on the chat. We harvest them, and Professor Folayo is a French philosopher. It's not just a philosopher; it's a French philosopher. So on that note, we may just decide to admit him into UFTAN so he can continue taking our questions. But this time, I want Dr. Sylvester Otegbali. Could you please read up some of the questions on the chat so Professor Folayo can quickly respond? Thank you. Dr. Sylvester. Okay, if Dr. Sylvester is not responding, so we don't waste our time. There's a question someone dropped here, and she's asking, how do we get access to non-paying journals? How do we get access to non-paying journals?
Well, maybe I can just be giving very short responses to some of those questions. This, like I said, these journals are available all over the net, you know. So once you type, for instance, what I did with the journal that I showcased is just to type Journal of Anglophone or Francophone French Studies, you know, Journals of French Studies in Africa. And then you will see where they are located, you will see their institutional base, you know. So once you go to the editorial policy and the journal is asking, yes, and I need to make this point, some journal will only ask you to pay for open access. Some journals are straightforward open access, but some other journals will pay for you to have your journal. If your journal is published, they will ask you to pay to make it open access. Okay, so that one, there is no problem. You pay for open access because many of these journals will hide your essay behind a paywall, you know. So, but if you want it to be open, then another thing you do is that they give you permission that if your essay is accepted, the last page proof that is sent to you, you know, before the final one that is published, they allow you to, you know, display it on academia or on ResearchGate. They allow you to display it, you know. But outside of that, some of them will make you sign contracts, you know. So a journal that asks you to pay for publication, please run away from that journal. It's predatory.
All right. Thank you very much for explaining. Thank you so much. There's another question I have here. This person is talking about, you know, writing for visibility, writing to be published, and writing to be promoted. And then if we now do in multidisciplinary, for instance, somebody who is a Francophone Caribbean specialist, now diving into Ashake's song, diving into Fela's work, like we said, is interdisciplinary. All right. When such a person is to be assessed for professorship, this scholar is saying such papers, where and how will they count? Because we, the young scholars, are made to understand that when we write in our areas, when we're due to be assessed for professorship, our papers are assessed in line with area of our PhD. So, sir, I would want you to throw more light into this aspect and worry.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Now, it is your area of specialization that determines what you publish. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a trajectory when you are just coming up, and that is the way assessors for your professorial cadre assess you. Nobody, if you are standing for assessment in, say, 2026, and you started publishing in 2001, no serious assessor will give any serious, credence to papers you published in 2001, because then, as assistant lecturer, you are just climbing. Okay? So, number one, you have to define your area of specialization or areas of specialization. Number two, if you are in French language or French literature, those are two different things. So if you are in French language, of course, there is also an interdisciplinary field within your area that connects you with others. Okay? There is no reason why a French scholar will not look at, relationship, for instance, take a novel, and you are looking at lexical, linguistic, semantic, syntactical issues within the novel. So the point is not that you are jumping all around, because you are correct. The assessor is going to look at the coherence of your research portfolio. So it is your area of specialization that you must determine. And it must not be more than 3.
All right, thank you very much. The emphasis on area of specialization.
Yes.
This
Hello,
person
hello,
is asking in a
my secretary,
nutshell,
ma'am.
can you? Hello.
Hello, Secretary Mark. Please,
There is
can I
a
ask a
question
question?
here.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Terry, sir, could you please just drop it in the chat box? Here, I'm taking the questions in the chat box. Is it, in a nutshell, can you expatiate further on the different rubrics of a grant-winning abstract in a layman's language? Can you expatiate on the rubrics of a grant-winning abstract in a layman's language? I think I should just take these two questions together.
Okay.
If my inference is correct, we are scholars of humanities, then scholars of French, and ultimately interdisciplinary scholars. Could it be the other way around?
Can we mute? I can barely hear you.
Please, can we mute? All right. This person is saying, can you expatiate further on the different rubrics of a grant-winning abstract in a layman's language? Everyone is saying, if my inference is correct, we're scholars of the humanities, then scholars of French, and ultimately interdisciplinary scholars. Could it be the other way around?
Okay, thank you very much. It doesn't matter how you take it. Number one, once you consider yourself a humanities scholar, you are automatically interdisciplinary. And the reason for that is what I mentioned earlier, that we share approaches, we share theoretical framework, we share methodology. There is nothing my Oga Adeyefa is doing in French, and the methodology is using critical theory, post-colonialism, that I'm not using in philosophy. When we are discussing post-colonial theory, we are discussing similar things, similar methodologies. That's what we are discussing. He's looking at Gayatri Spivak.
Right. Can you quickly give us the rubrics of a grant-winning abstract in a layman's language?
So I'm saying that when you are writing for grants, what the grant body is looking for, number one, they want to see how how vast your understanding of the discourse in that field is. Number one, if you are not vast, you are not going to win any grant. Number two, they want to see how you are able to situate what you want to do, the gap that you want to fill, connect with that vast discourse within the field that you are operating. If there is no gap, by gap, the grant body is saying, don't repeat what others have done. Don't repeat what others have said.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Terry, can we take your question very quickly?
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Prof.
Thank you, sir.
Afolayan, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, yes, sir. Well, my question is as follows, sir.
Yes, sir.
You rightly talked about, when some journals request you to pay, it may be a predatory journal.
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, like in the University of Benin, where I teach, there is this segregation of the number of journal articles that is required of you to get to a particular level of your
Yeah.
of your career.
Yeah.
Now there are some journal articles that you must have that will be deemed to be local. There are some others that will be national publications, while there are some others that will be foreign publications. Now, my question is, we hardly find journals that are seen or perceived to be local and national publications that do not require you to pay publication fee.
Yeah.
I like the fact when you talked about the journal where you are editor,
Yeah.
that you had to make that condition clear to the
Yeah.
persons who engaged you, that
Yeah.
you would not like to,
Charge.
ask contributors to pay publication fee.
Yes, sir.
Now, maybe you may now need people to sponsor the publication of such a journal, and which is possible. It's just that it may be very difficult to do, but it's not impossible. But most of the journals in Nigeria require you to pay to publish.
Yeah.
What do we do in such cases?
So thank you very much, sir. That is what I meant
Yes.
by saying when we talk about predatory journal or journal asking you to pay, we need to be very careful. So because many of those journals abroad, they are sponsored by their faculty, they are sponsored by their departments, they are sponsored by their university. So my point is, if a department wants to float a journal, you have to seek for fund, because there is this widespread suspicion of journals that ask people to pay. If you ask somebody to pay and you do not, except you say, which is a further clarification, except you say once your article is accepted, then you'll be asked to pay so amount of money. I do not want to supervise a journal that asks people to pay. Okay, so that is what I'm saying. But if a journal says you must bring some amount of money so that they will consider your paper and then they will publish it, then that journal should not. Because if anyone sees your name or your essay in such a journal, you are not respected. Because everybody knows
right,
that
Professor
you paid to publish your essay in that journal.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, sir. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
This conversation will not stop now. It continues because, like I said, you have invariably become a French philosopher. So, on this note, I'm going to be bringing up
Thank
Dr.
you.
Terry, the PRO of the association, who is going to be linking us now to Professor Yeleru, who will be taking us on grant-winning articles writing. Thank you very much once again. I
Thank you
want to believe
very
you are still
much,
staying back
everybody.
with us because we may have one or two questions to throw at you maybe at the end of the section. We'll appreciate if you can please stay with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay,
Dr. Terry.
okay. Thank you very much, our able secretary, Dr. Jebu. Thank you, Professor. Can you hear me, please?
Yes,
We
Dr.
can
Terry,
we
we
can
lost
hear
you at
you
the time, but
now.
we can
Can
hear
hear
you
you
now.
now.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. So, like I said earlier, we'll be having two of our very eminent professors that be speaking to us today. We have just had the first one, which was very enriching. We will be moving on now to the second presentation, which will be delivered by Professor Babatunde Ayeleru, a professor at the University of Ibadan and the immediate past director of the Nigerian-French language village. Before he comes up, we would like to invite President of UFTAN.
Terry, maybe you should just maybe
Prof is not. We introduced Professor Afolayan because Prof is a known face. I guess that everybody knows him here, but maybe I
Okay.
will say a few things just for the note.
Okay. 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 It's very clear because Professor Alileru is known to all of us. So I'll just let our UFTAN president come up now to just say some few things, not in form of a citation, but just to prepare the way, like John the Baptist, for Prof to step up. Thank you very much, sir.
Let me thank us for it is an impressive. We have had over 64 participants. And the discourse has actually been engaging. I want to bring up Professor Yeleru has been a very serious mentor to many young minds in UFTAN and the other associations, having also been well bred in the area of literary stylistics. Then you have also sociolinguistics and so many other scholarship and interdisciplinary inclinations of his research. And so, having been at the University of Ibadan, Betty has also understood the need to trade in scholarship. And that is why we can say that he's in UFTAN is one of those few people that have been able to access different grants in Germany and other parts of Europe and in Nigeria. And I believe that his wealth of experience will help the young ones be able to understand the intricacies in grant writing and every other thing we have done or we are going to do in this webinar series. Allow me to present the very erudite scholar, somebody in whom I am well pleased, especially in the area of literary theorizations. And not only that, but bringing linguistic studies, especially when it has to do with cultural anthropology. That is exactly what Professor Folan was actually trying to tell us. So I would want to bring on stage our own Professor Babatunde Latif Ayeleru to take the next space and share with us his thoughts that will guide the UFTAN young one, not those just young ones, even elderly and the older ones will still be able to hone their own skills. Thank you, sir, for coming. Uh,
All right, while we wait for Professor Aileru to come on board, I want to appeal to Ross. If you are not speaking while the facilitator is on, could you please kindly mute yourself to avoid background interruptions? Thank you very much.
Hello,
uh, um, um,
am I on to everybody?
Yes, you're
yes, we
on,
can
Prof.
hear you, Prof. You can go ahead, sir.
We can
Yes,
hear you now.
because I know that somebody muted me from that end,
Yes.
and I'm trying to.
No, you're on, sir. You're on, Prof. We can hear you. You have been duly introduced.
Okay, I will need to share my. I would like to share my slide.
Yes, from go
Okay,
ahead.
sir.
Okay, coming. Yeah. Hello?
Yes, Prof. We're waiting.
Okay. Yeah, good evening, everybody. I would like to join the president and members of UFTAN to thank my very good brother and friend, Professor Folayan, for that very tantalizing presentation. I'm not surprised because it is in your character. Thank you very much for coming. And I'm glad to inform us that I will leverage on some of the things that Professor Afolayan has already discussed. And I'm going to be very specific because the topic you gave to me is a bit specific, though I've done some adjustments to the topic so that I'll be properly focused and the thesis of my discourse will come out more clearly. You have asked me to talk about writing a publishable article with grant implications from proposal to manuscript. When that is where I'm going to talk. From proposal to manuscript and how to reuse language without plagiarism, not just plagiarism alone. So I'll be looking at that. So what I'm going to do this evening, are you listening to me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir, we are. We are
And
listening.
my slide is refusing to share. Or have you seen it?
Your slide is
No,
is
we've
Yeah,
not
you
refusing
seen
to
did.
share.
it.
Okay,
It's
just send
just
it to me on
loading.
WhatsApp.
We've not seen
Okay.
it.
You can just yes, sir. You can just send it to my WhatsApp.
Oh, good. So, like I said, my paper is going to be in two parts because I will discuss how to prepare a good proposal. And proposal and manuscripts are not the same. After the proposal, when the proposal succeeds and the award is granted, then you can now do a manuscript where you give a report of what you have done. That will be one part of my presentation this evening. And the other part is that is going to be a bit practical, is to share one of my numerous proposals that won grants. I want to be modest. To the glory of God, I think I've, in the course of this business, I've got about 10 generously funding grants. 3 coming from Germany, 1 coming from Erasmus, EU Erasmus, and I think a few others from the French related institutions. So the ones I will share are those that I got after my doctorate degree, especially the ones they call established researcher. So I will share just one of them. And it will be interesting to say that, like Professor Folayan said, since I left senior lectureship position, I've gone into cultural anthropology, like our president just mentioned. Because to win these grants, you need to be seriously innovative. Because these days, the grants are getting reduced in number, and we are having more and more scholars. So you must compete seriously to get them. And part of the competition is that you must be innovative. You must be saying something that is new, that nobody has said, something that people want to know about. The last one I got last year, that was from the DAD. DAD is about the largest funding body in Germany. And the funding is coming from the federal government. So the last one I got, I asked for 3 months. There are so many applications. You know, the Germans, it's not about, we have 10 positions, we will give 2 to arts or humanities will give to science. No, they will rank. If the whole 10 is going to the sciences, so be it. And if the whole 10 is going to the humanities, even to just one department, one area of interest, literature, they will do their award because they will rank it after the peer review of your proposal. So that is why I will share that last one so that what I've discussed in the first part of my lecture, I will use that one to illustrate it. I will see how a proposal should look like and what we should be looking for while we are preparing our proposal. So, are you following me?
Yes, sir.
But still, you don't have my slide, Abby?
Not yet.
Yes, so we don't have.
Now
we don't
it's
have.
coming. Something just came up.
You have
we
it,
don't have.
Abby?
There's something like, what is ECAN?
Okay.
ECAN. Is that you, Professor?
You want to so.
That's
ECAN.
Musiwalia's icon.
Yes, I'm trying to share it and the thing is just rolling. Maybe it's my network that is misbehaving. But what I will do is to send it to the secretary and see what so let me try it again. Gracious.
Yes, sir.
Please send
I'm
your
with you, sir.
send your email address to me.
All right, sir. I'm sending it to your WhatsApp now.
Yeah. So let me start while I'm sorting that out with Gracious. So what I'm saying is that I would like to start by saying that every research involves both planning and reporting. When you want to do a research, you must plan. Then, if that research is completed, you have to report it. And that is why, as a PhD student, when you are defending your thesis, the last question that will come at the end of the viva is what you are going to do with the thesis that you have written. So for a good research, two things are important: planning that will lead to the research itself, and after that, reporting of the research. And you should also note that research, the ingredients of a good research work that will turn into a reported work is what we call ethics. Hello? So ethics, as a researcher, you must respect the ethics of research. I listened to the first presenter talking about plagiarism. This is part of the ethics, transparency. I'm going to talk about that towards the end of this presentation. The thesis, the focus of this discussion is to look at... Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, sir. We can hear you clearly. It's
Okay,
Somebody is
I'm
just
hearing
people
some
that
people
didn't
talking.
mute their mics, but we can hear
Please,
you
people
clearly.
should mute their... Please. Thank you.
I'm
So,
unmuted.
the focus, the thesis of this presentation is to look at two important things: the transition between a proposal and a manuscript. In the process, we are talking of the reuse of language. It's not just the language that is being reused in this context. We are also reusing our own materials, the materials we have produced previously in the past. We are reusing them. But how do we reuse them so that we will not be accused of unnecessary overlapping, unnecessary duplication, and unnecessary plagiarism that should even be completely avoided? So I would like to quote a scholar who says a proposer tells us what we plan to do, while a manuscript shows us or reports exactly what we have done. So you see that a proposal is just the planning. It's like if you're an administrator at the beginning of before the end of a financial year, preparing for the next financial year, there is a period of budgeting. So when you are preparing your budget, it's just like doing your proposal. And that thing, it will be done in a way that you are envisaging. You are dreaming. And that is why for you to succeed, you must dream. When they say you should send an abstract to a conference, or there is this grant awarding body, you can send your proposal, they are saying that you should dream. Tell us your dream, what you want to do, and how you will do it. So the reason behind the research, maybe the first one, as it concerns us, is for academic success. I want to take a PhD. I want to do a good research. I'm already a lecturer. I want to climb up to the ladder to get to the peak of my career. You must get involved in the good research. Then publication. We all know that the popular maxim that publish or perish. You know that if you are in the business of academics, you must be a consistently published scholar. You must publish. At least a friend told me that as a professor, you must endeavor to publish at least 1 or 2 articles in a year. So you know that our business is to continue to do research and to continue to bring out the output of our research. And the output of our research can be in the form of a journal article, a monograph, a patent, or a textbook. But you must tell people what you are doing and tell them how you have done it and your findings. So there's something we call research integrity. You see, we just don't do research for the sake of it. Somebody asked about promotion. I know that these days, I'm not talking particularly about UFTAN. I'm talking generally about the academic. These days, people do research for promotion. I was reading an article somewhere, and I shared it to my departmental platform, where it is now the era of, please add my name to your paper. The research that the person didn't participate at all. Somebody has done the research. He's just asking that somebody should just put the name. This is what one can describe as academic fraud. So for research, it must go with integrity. It must go with integrity. That is when people will take you as a serious-minded scholar. And the purpose of research is also for knowledge sharing. And that is why each time you have a research, you must disseminate your findings. And how do you disseminate your findings? You must publish in journals, as textbooks, or even at conferences. You go to conferences and present the outcome of your findings. So these are the reasons why we are engaging in research. Now, proposal and manuscript. What is a research proposal? To me, a research proposal is a detailed and focused planning document. You want to do a proposal, you want to win a grant, you want to do a research, the proposal must be detailed, it must be focused, that when anybody is reading it, even the assessors, you know, all these big grant awarding bodies, about 4 or 5 people will assess your proposal, and all of them will come with their scoring, and they will add and find average before they rank you with all other people that have applied. So it must be detailed, it must be focused, not that people will be reading and they don't know what you are trying to say or what the gap you are going to fill. And they also want to know before they give the approval, what benefit is this research you are doing? How is it going to impact the society? I mean, when people are bringing like $10,000 euro, they will pay your flight ticket, they will pay your accommodation, they will feed you, they will even pay your salary while you are there. Even if you go with your wife, they will take care of your wife. You see, we are already talking of thousands of euros. They want to know how that thing you are coming to do, when the result comes out, how it's going to help the society. Is it economically? Is it socially? Is it politically? So that is why a research proposal must be detailed, comprehensive, intelligible, and it must be focused. That is when it can get the approval. So, and you must outline systematically and systemically what you want to do. You cannot just be saying, because these people reading you, they have seen so many proposals. So if you are coming to take something from them in terms of grant, money, big money for that matter, you must come with something that is entirely very new, very innovative. And that is what they are looking for. So I have the proposal structure. The title is important because the proposal that you will write is not a proposal of 3, 4, 5 pages. I can't remember the last time I have a proposal that is less than 10 pages. It's like an article on its own, because it must take care of all components. So you must have a title that is convincing, a title that when they see, because they will score the title. In fact, the process of elimination, some proposal will be eliminated at the level of the title of the research. So the title must be interesting, it must be promising, it must be tantalizing, and it should also have an impact. What it's going to do positively for the society. So there must be a background. The background is to show that this area you are talking about, you are familiar with it. You know the debate. You are following the debate. And in fact, you must show that you have been contributing to the debate. For instance, for DAD or for AVH, it's not just your proposal that they are looking at. They will score your proposal. They will also score your academic profile, your publications. They will say, give us your publications in 3 pages. You will list all your publications. Some will ask that, give us 3 out of these papers, these articles you have published. Give us your best 3. Those 3, they will now go and read and assess. And the reason why they are looking for this is that what level of scholarship are you, or what kind of scholar are you? Are you a 5-star scholar? Are you a 3-star scholar? You know the hotels are ranked. Scholars are also ranked. If you have a scholar that in his area of in his or her area of specialization, people are looking for research materials, and they put his name or her name, and nothing pop up, that will enable you to know the star of that scholar. So a 5-star scholar, a 4-star scholar, a 3 or a furniture scholar. You can be a scholar, a professor, but you are a furniture professor because you don't go beyond the office or beyond the of university. So the research, your research, you must show that you know about that, you are part of the debate, that you have been contributing to the debate. If you are writing in an area, the reason why they are asking for your CV is that they want to see how many articles you have done in that area. My scholarship has gone into, like I said, told you, I'm more into cultural anthropology. And my focus is looking at my immediate community of Ijio. I'm working on Gelede. I've worked on Oro. The fellowship I got in 2017, it was on Oro Festival. You know, Oro Festival is a cult that is reserved for men alone. But I came up with a topic where I argue that there is gender equity in Oro Festival. Anybody who want to listen to that? When you say that Oro is the exclusive reserve of men, only men can participate in this cult. And so a scholar is out saying that there's gender equity in it. They want to listen to you. From that topic alone, that one will scale through. And I thank God, it scaled through, and I got 2 months to go and do the research. So, and they will now look at how many articles has he written on Oro or on Gelede in your research profile. So when they see those articles, they know that you are part of the debate. You know what you want to do. Then you must have research questions which your research objectives will answer. From the objectives, when they see the questions you are asking, they will know that the objectives will come out well. And from that, your questions and from the objective, you are already showing them what the findings they should expect. Then, methodology is important, how you are going to do it. And you also need theoretical framework. I'm not sure that any proposal will scale through without a serious theoretical underpinning. Methodology is how you will do it. Okay, like these days, I'm a researcher in Gelede, and I'm not just an observant, I'm a participant observant. In most cases, I don't need serious informants because I also participate. I do the dancing with them. I follow the affair. I follow the Gelede. I listen to the drums. I ask questions. In fact, the latest research I'm doing on Gelede is about the costume. And I met the person that is into the costume, who is from Republic of Benin, and we have started discussing. So you must be well grounded in the area. Otherwise, you will not know where the debate started from, where it has reached, and where it should go. And where the debate should go is the gap that you are promising in your proposal that you are going to fill. So the theoretical framework is very important. And you should also know, when you see a body asking for proposal, you should go and read about that body. What kind of proposal they have been taking in the past, what their interest is. And if you like, some will even some of them will have their website where you can see past proposals, and you can just download and read as a guide. Then methodology, theoretical framework, very, very, very important. There are components that you cannot run away from. Then you must have your tentative findings, expected outcomes, what you are envisaging. Because that is what your objective is saying, that at the end of the day, we should be able to do this. We should be able to show how women are also important in the court of Oro. It is true that men are claiming that they are the owner of this court, but women, they also wield some powers behind the scene, spiritual powers. Even the men that are involved in this court, their mentors and their mentees are women. So they have mentors that are women. So you have to show that what you are going to say is just new. And where they see contradiction, you are trying to dismantle the contradictions. Then after the expected outcome, this is where you will also show the importance of your research to the community, to your immediate community, to the general community. You must show it, and it must come out very well. And you must also tell them that this research that I'm doing on Gelede or Oro in Nigeria, I want to go to Germany to go and complete. You must convince them that why Germany? Are they doing Gelede in Germany? Are they doing Oro or Egungun in Germany? You must justify why you should be there. There is a library in Bayreuth. I would like to use it. There is one in Humboldt. I want to use it. There is a Iwalewa house in Bayreuth. I want to visit the place. So all things like that. And you also tell them that in the course of your research, you want to share what your findings at seminars, workshops in Europe and around your environment with them. So they will know that if we spend money on this, it's not a waste. So tentative findings or expected outcomes, very important, and you have to justify. And don't forget the language. What language do you use? If you are writing your proposal, you know the tenses are not the same for the proposal and the manuscript, because one is telling us the plan, the other one is reporting what we have done. You know that there will be a movement, a sentential movement. The tenses will move from the future tense. I will do this. I will visit this place. I will argue like this. I will do presentation. It will now go to the past tense. That we did this. I was here. I was in Berlin. I was in Bayreuth. We did this. We discussed this. Things like that. Don't forget. It's very important. So then let me talk about the manuscript now. Like I said, the manuscript is a completed research work. It can be in form of an article, a chapter in a book, a monograph, a textbook, depending on how rich. It may be a textbook. So all those things, you must know that this is how I'm going to disseminate my findings. These days, people would like to disseminate their findings at workshops, at conferences. The area of doing a research and keeping the output, the end product in your somewhere in your drawer, and you bring it out during the promotion exercise, that period had gone forever and for good. So whatever research you have done now, you have to disseminate it, and you have to do it in a very good outputs. In those of us in UI now, you know what the promotions criteria is saying, that you must get a certain number of H index. And you know that H index is not a friend of those of us in the humanities. It is not. But that is the criteria they are setting everywhere. And the way to go is to talk about yourself, to publicize yourself, expose what you are doing. Don't hide it. Disseminate your findings. And you communicate your findings. Your findings, communicate them well, the way people will understand you. Not just not when you are reporting. All the jargons, you can have them in your books. the post-colonial jargons and the linguistic and the theoretical gymnastic, you have them. But what you know that the society will need to hear, you have to foreground it. You have to foreground it. Because part of what I told them about Oro is that my research is going to show that Oro is not a secret code that is negating development. That Oro is not a fight against Islam. It's not a fight against Christianity. It's a form of grouping. The way you have Muslims, you have Christians, you also have the Oro adherents, and they can come together. So in my research, I said the output of my research will preach religious tolerance. People will cooperate, and one will not disturb the other. Because in the research, I showed some areas where in the past there have been crises, conflicts between Oro worshippers and Muslims, especially in Shagamu. Oro worshippers and Christians in a place like Ishain. I said that this research will be something that will come to put an end into such suspicions. People will know that what we are doing is not against the other person. So it's very important to communicate clearly what your findings are. Then the use of journals. I'm happy that my brother, Professor Folayan, just mentioned that. When I was elected as the editor of RANEV, I remember in my acceptance speech, I said that I would have loved RANEV to be a journal that will not be charging for pagination of our articles. Because some of us, it's so strange that you are paying as much as 50,000 naira to publish an article. What can buy your family a bag of rice that you eat for 2-3 months? So, and I agree that these journals will need funding. But very good journals, they don't ask for money. I publish in JAX. JAX is the, I don't know whether there's another journal that can rank above JAX in cultural studies in the whole of the world. In the Faculty of Arts UI, 4 of us have published in that journal, only 4 of us. The first person that published there was our former dean, Professor Ogundeji, followed by Professor Ayokende, followed by Professor Ayeleru. Then the latest person is Professor Folayan. These are cultural journals. I must tell you that that article, I never use it for my promotion because it took me 2 years before they could publish. Back and front. Correction. You must reference this. You must claim this. You must. So that is, well, and today is one of my well-cited publications. So look for good outputs. Of what benefit is for somebody to do a research that takes you months, that exhausts your energy, and you now take such a well-written article full of idea into an obscure journal, a journal that will not go beyond the department where it was published. So always look for good outlets, and there are many of them. Like I told you, the proposal has a structure. The manuscript also has its own structure. The first one is the abstract. The second is the introduction. Then you have the methods or methodological statements. Then your results. You have to show your results, the findings. When you show your results, you show us how you will discuss it, the discussion of the results, your conclusion. And what is very important, very, very important, is the references. The references is very important. And that is where they always start to accuse people of plagiarism. You know that I'm going to issue of plagiarism. The plagiarism that is very common is when you plagiarize yourself. which is a very criminal offense in academia. Because Ayeleru 2010 is not the same thing as Ayeleru 2026. If you publish an article in RANEF in 2015, Richard Aja, 2015. If you are publishing another article in RAD, Research in African Literatures, that Richard Aja is not the same person, the same Richard Aja of 2015. If you must borrow from that material published in 2015, you must treat Richard Aja as somebody you don't know. You are dealing with the material, and you must give respect to that author, that Aja of 2015. The Aja of 2026 must reference it adequately. Even when you paraphrase. I have an experience. Professor Chantal Zabus, I visited her in 2010 in Brussels, in her house, and I did an interview. She's a leading scholar of French studies from Université de Paris, Paris 3, I think. And one of my manuscripts that I wanted to publish on her works, she read it for me after writing. And she said, she even suggested the journal I should send it to. You know that when one of the assessors, when they returned the comment, I used one word, relaxification. Relaxification. I just used it, paraphrasing. The man brought it out that I must reference that word. That word is from Chantal Zabus, not from any other scholar. And it's not just a dictionary word. Only one word. So any word you use that is not yours and that you know that is significant, that has become a word that has become how do I describe it? An important idiom of your scholarship, you must reference it. You must mention to us the person that has used the word for the first time. It's like you are discovering negritude. You must tell us that negritude came out for the first time in the work of a necessary. You cannot pretend that you are just using it, that you are the owner of it. So referencing is very important. And lastly, the manuscripts, like I said earlier, must be written in the past tense, because what you are doing at that level is to report. Like I told you, the thesis of my work is to look at the transition process. And I'm going to be detailed about that. The transition process from a proposal to a manuscript. A proposal first is your dream. You are dreaming. In your head, the dream is there. You put it on the paper, you arrange it. The next stage that you move to is research. And what do you do for the research? You are trying to discover something that has been covered. You want to discover it, uncover it. You begin to, you need money, especially in cultural anthropology. You begin to travel. Because the last one that I said I was going to share with you is about Nigeria and Republic of Benin. I had to visit some communities in the Republic of Benin to do recording of Gelede, to interact with women, because the focus of my proposal was the socio-political role that.
Hello, sir. Hello, Prof. Hello, Prof. Thank you very much, sir. I know that we're all enjoying you, and if we continue like this, we may not live here tonight. Our time is running out.
Oh.
And is it possible for you to do us few minutes round up so we can entertain questions? Because we're going to close this section by 10
so
p.m.
Let me just discuss this area. The proposal, research, and manuscript. The proposal and manuscript, two extreme ends. What you find in between them is the research. You have to go to the field. You have to visit the library. You have to do focus group discussion depending on the kind of proposal you want to do. And you must be systematic about it. And it requires some level of analysis and documentation. So let me talk about plagiarism. You can reuse your words, but I think I've discussed that when I was giving analogy that when you are quoting yourself, that material you are quoting in the past is not you that you are writing today. So it's very important to be careful with that. And when you are using somebody else's material, that is even more dangerous. So you must be careful so that you won't be accused of plagiarism. So, core principles. It is allowed for you to reuse your work, but you must be transparent. You must cite yourself appropriately. Adapt the content in a way that you don't mislead the readers. And be careful, it's very common. People will be using the same materials. They have materials that they have used. You see that when you read people's articles, especially when you are assessing people, 3 different articles, they are having the same data. That is not good enough. It's academic fraud. So you have to cite. Well, even when you paraphrase, you must also cite it. So your methodology is very important. Cite the original. When you want to quote somebody, and that person has also quoted from a source, try to look for the original source and quote appropriately. These days, what you see in people's work is that they just cite from the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th layer without knowing where that quotation has come from and what led to it. And when you cite, you should also be able to interrogate what you have cited. So the takeaway here is that the proposal is a plan, the manuscript is the evidence of your research, and the credibility of your research is the ethical writing. So be clear in what you are discussing, be honest in what you are saying, and be transparent. Thank you very much. So the second part, I will just send that it will be shared. That proposal, it will be shared to us, then we'll look at it, then we can react to it during the question and answer. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. Thank you very much. We were grateful for this privilege to drink from your fountain of knowledge. Thank you so much. We have 1 or 2 questions here, Prof. So let's quickly take the questions before time runs out for tonight. Asking, she said, thank you, Prof. With the area you are in right now, it seems like it's normal grants with an arbitrary text. Must we all go into cultural, anthropological, or ethnological studies in order to get grants, or areas of text analysis that one can explore to win grants? Prof, sir.
Okay, should I take it immediately?
Yes, sir. Must we all go into cultural?
I'm not saying, please, I'm not saying that everybody should go into that area. What I'm just saying is that we must diversify. If you are, for instance, if you are in language and you want to remain in that your language core area, grammar, phonetics, what are you going to tell people that the Chomsky, the Hallidays have not said? But if you are in an area of linguistics and you begin to look at how the contact your own mother tongue, how it has evolved, how it has been able to survive in a multilingual environment, how your language, your mother tongue, has escaped diglossia. You want to show it with empirical facts. They want to listen to you. There is, for instance, one research collaboration that we brought. Myself and Professor Raji, English department, actually brought it from Berlin to collaborate with the University of Ibadan. Later, we extended it to linguistics and history. Our postgraduate students from those 4 departments, at least one every year, will compete and win the fellowship to go to Berlin for 4 months to do research. People in history have gone, people in linguistics have gone, European studies have gone, English have gone. What they need is that whatever you are doing, it must be realistic. It must be able to impact in the society. And that is why, even when you look at all the research I'm doing, you must see my inscription on it. I will inscribe the fact that I'm a scholar of French language. In fact, I did a presentation in Berlin on Gelede. My argument is that the Gelede in Republic of Benin and in Nigeria, in my hometown, the Gelede is bilingual. And I showed the clips of Gelede, where Gelede speaks French, Gelede speaks English, Gelede speaks other local languages. And I analyzed the French he spoke. Is it the standard form of French? Is it the familiar one? Is it the Lago or whatever? So all those things, whatever you are doing, you must bring it to bear in your area of interest. But what I'm saying is that I must tell you, the kind of what we are seeing today, you have to go out of what you are doing. Look at what you are doing as a scholar of French, how it can also dovetail into something else, and how it will be useful to the society. That is the way to go. For instance, the first postdoctoral I got was on literature. I went to do feminism. I'm basically poetry. But the second one I applied for, in the same area of literature, I didn't get it because they said that there was nothing new in it.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Okay.
Prof. We appreciate this time you are spending with us. Our time is already up. The person asking about if those in translation can get grants, I think Prof has already answered that question. All you need to do is do something new in your area that will attract grants. Don't keep repeating what has been done. Do something new. At this point, I'm going to be welcoming Professor Richard, who is going to be taking us on the closing remarks and closing formalities, why we call it a day. Professor Richard, please.
I think we have already, it's only a minute to the hour of 10. Sorry that our approach is more or less like we are witches and wizards that intend to spend the night for this event. I think the ESCO, they have a wisdom that actually, that maybe this time will give us some relaxing mood. I want to thank all all our, I've seen through, we are over 60 something that participated today. I want to thank Professor Falayon, and then I'm a very respected senior colleague, Professor Tunde Ayeleru. I want to thank you, sir, for the engagement. The questions are continuous. You can always, the engagement, you can always, tomorrow we will be here and we have more time for, I just pray that Professor Ayeleru can as well be available tomorrow. We are going to take my very good friend, Fatoumata Keata. She is a very good sound scholar too, and they're from Mali. So she is going to take us on her experience, especially in just as a Fulbright scholar. in the US. So we are going to listen to that, and after that we'll have a little time. If we had questions, concern, maybe we have gone home, reflected on some of this, maybe bring it tomorrow, we'll be able to do justice to it. I want to thank all our professors that attended and those that came in and left. And then I think I saw our editor-in-chief, Professor Ilo, and then our past president, Professor Tijani, Professor Zwanke, and the rest of other people. The young UFTAN members are everywhere. I want to thank you for taking the time, and then the organizers, especially Dr. Otegbala, and then our able secretary, and then our PRO. Thank you for a good job. Well done. I want to wish everybody a blessed night. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Tomorrow we'll meet the same time, but not the same spirit. There will be a different lesson altogether tomorrow. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Good
Yes,
night,
Okay, good.
everyone.
I've sent the hello.
Good night.
Everybody, good
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very
Good
much. Good night. Bonne nuit.